That time again. Time to discuss some series for Star Trek Picard Season 3. Spoilers ahead. Okay, we're through 8 episodes, and boy, this season's been great. So I got a few things to talk about, so this could be a little longer than usual. Okay, the first thing, I want to talk about the Irumodic Syndrome. Okay, I've figured there's 3 different buckets if you want to kind of do some kind of Venn diagram, which the syndrome could fall into. Okay, assuming for the purposes of this, we're only going to think about humanoids that have that brain defect that the Picards have. Okay. The syndrome is real. It can be triggered by many different conditions or events, and one of them happens to be being possessed by a Pah-Wraith. Bucket 2. The syndrome is real, but it was misdiagnosed in both Picard Sr. and Jack Crusher as the syndrome, but in really it's the Pah-Wraith energy, the imprint on that part of the brain. But the syndrome is a real phenomenon that you can get. Just the Picards don't have it. Or the third one, and this could actually have major impacts, is that the syndrome doesn't exist at all. Is that all instances of individuals that have been diagnosed with the syndrome are individuals that have actually encountered a Pah-Wraith or non-corporeal being living in them. And they happen to have that brain defect. Because maybe there are certain conditions that you have to have a genetic predisposition to it and actually come across the event. So maybe there's some malevolent entities out there that like that brain defect. So that's what I got for now. So we can just marinate on that. I don't know where I'm going with that. Okay, so number 2. And this goes back to the last episode. Okay, so it's been stated, I mean, Ed Spielers has stated that his character is supposed to be in his mid-20s, like 24. But my math says he's 19. So let's postulate that he really is 24. That would move his birth date up like 5 years. So, let me think here. I'm saying his birthday is around September of 2376. Now, why is that month significant? This goes into number 3. But we'll come back to number 2 in a second. Who is the mother of the Laforge sisters? And who is Geordi's wife? It is not Leah Braun, whatever her name is. No, I think that would be an awful. Because I didn't like that plot at all. Thought it was tacky and no. It's not her. Okay. LaForge's first order is a lieutenant. So I peg her to be about 24, 25. Maybe born around September 2376. Now, we know Geordi was still on the Enterprise at this point. So, this is a twist. This is a major twist. I'm saying Geordi's first order is not his. She is adopted by him. I'm saying that the LaForge sisters, their mother, is none other than Kasidy Yates. So, just let that sink in for a minute. Now, going back to number 2, if Jack was born in the late, 2376 in September, that still gives a few years before we even get to Nemesis. So, how does that play out? Well, there were some cutting room scraps left from the script for, I think it was Insurrection, where Crusher was supposed to go back to Starfleet Medical, but it never made it in the movie. So maybe that really is canon. So the events of what Picard and Crusher had talked about how they went on shore leave, yada yada yada, still happened. They just happened 5 years sooner. Beverly goes to Starfleet Medical. Perfect place to, have a child, and keep it to herself, private. And then she decides to come back for Insurrectionary, give one last gun-ho to try to, start a romantic rendezvous with Picard and try to put her family together. And obviously it doesn't work. So that's where I'm thinking it went. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, but Sleepy, last week you said that Jack was definitely 19 years old. Born in 2381. And you know what? I think you're probably right about that. I'm still stuck on that, and I think there's a way to make this crazy theory work still. Okay, so what does this have to do with LaForge and Kasidy Yates and all this stuff? Okay. Notice I said the birth dates are the same. So, LaForge's first daughter, was adopted, was the unborn child of Kasidy Yates and Benjamin Sisko. Remember, the prophets frowned upon that relationship. They said bad things would happen. Now, I think most people would pass it off as that you're going to hurt someone. We know we're going to take you out of linear existence for our own purposes. Ben, you're going to hurt people. Remember, the prophets, they don't know what love is when they first met Ben. They don't know what linear existence is. They don't understand death. So, for them to magically learn that quickly and then give a warning? No. The warning was something else. I'm thinking there may have been an agreement between the prophets and the Pah-Wraiths, saying that, the emissary leaves, we won't have the Pah-Wraiths agree to not have an emissary. But if the emissary has a child, she becomes emissary. And that means the Pah-Wraiths automatically get an emissary. Okay, so what I was talking about previously was that I was making the assumption that it was important to the Pah-Wraiths that they get their, compensation for the emissary having a child, basically at the same time. Maybe that's not important to them, and, they're picky about their humanoid hosts. They happen to like people with Picard's syndrome. So they hatched their plan, as I stated last week, to infiltrate and possess Picard and eventually have an offspring of their own. And so the timeline works. So Jack could still be 19. And I think he really is. And the timeline works fine. So they're a few years apart. I think that works perfectly, and that lines up with the problems from the third episode, 17 Seconds, where Picard and Crusher were talking, and how it's really implied that their shore leave to Chesapeake Prime happened 2 months, before Beverly was supposed to leave Enterprise, but it really took place post-Nemesis. There's one statement that John Luke makes. He says he didn't know he was never going to see Beverly again. That doesn't fit with if the events of shore leave and the conception of Jack took place post-insurrection. So that's how I can tie everything together in a nice bow. I know, convoluted, twists twisting. I'm really grasping at straws here, but yeah, that's what I got right now. The first LaForge daughter is the emissary of the prophets, and she has no clue. Till later.